Hello YouTube, this is Magnolia Mo and I'm back with another video. Have you ever wondered, wouldn't it be nice to have 6 height speakers as opposed to just 4? I've wondered that many times, right? And I finally actually am able to configure my system for a 7.2.6 setup, right? And by that, what I mean is not 6 in-ceiling speakers. I mean your 2 front height speakers, 2 rear height speakers, and then 2 top middle. Um, and that, to me, I believe, in my opinion, again, that is a setup that will get you, obviously compatibility with Aura 3D, with the DTSX, IMAX Enhanced, Dolby Atmos. It's all around a setup that will work for different audio formats. In addition to giving you a better overall uh, Dolby Atmos, DTSX, or 3D experience, right? And that's, again, this is just my opinion, but I will tell you why, right? So here's the conventional Dolby Atmos in-ceiling setup with 4 speakers, right? Based off of Dolby's white paper. Problem with this setup is your overhead sound is much more narrower than if you had your front heights and rear heights, because that will expand your overall bubble. Now, in this case, it is between 45 to 135 degrees, and as you can see, it is much narrower compared to if you just went with your front heights and rear heights and then added a top middle speaker. You're actually going from 20 to 160 degrees, far greater uh, you know uh, surround activity from a bubble standpoint, right? If you went just with your front heights and your rear heights, but by adding the top middle, you're now actually filling in the spots nicely, right, where the sound can go, from speaker to speaker. Now here, if you went with just your basic, in ceiling point 0.6 setup, there's still those gray circles right there where you're missing out on a lot of activity, where your overall bubble is much more narrower. Here again, if you just went with the front heights and rear heights, this, in my opinion, it does give you a much wider soundstage. Your Dolby Atmos recommended in ceiling setup, right? Your 4 in ceiling speakers that are your top, front and top rears, right? In my opinion, right, it is not as good as having the front heights and the rear heights. Why? Because, and this is just point 0.4, right? It's just four ceiling speakers. I've tried it both ways, right? Now I'm trying it the third way, but I've tried it as your heights, front heights, rear heights. I've tried it as your 4 in ceiling Atmos speakers. I do get a wider sound stage, right? A deeper sound stage, I should say, to the front. When I have the front heights and the rear height setup. Now, compared to the traditional Dolby Atmos for in ceiling speakers. Why? Just taking a quiet place, into consideration here, right? So when you have your front height speakers, you can actually hear the creature front height, and then kind of panning, the sound kind of pans to your front, uh, left, center, and then kind of goes back, right? If you have the in ceiling speakers, that sound is pushed forward or pulled forward, however you want to call it. It's pulled forward, and you're hearing it above you. So I find the height configuration better in that scenario, because it actually depicts what's going on the screen, better than just your in than what you get from your in ceiling speakers. Um, Similarly, with Gravity, it's the same thing. That scene where George Clooney's character is just, is now floating away on his, where the the tether breaks. That scene, he is the object that's going around, in your ceiling or your height speakers, basically, right? And when you have your front and your rear heights set up, um, he's actually going from your rear to the front, all the way, and then to the rear, and then to the front again on your left side. So it starts off on the right side, and then kind of goes zigzags all the way, to the front of the front right side of your room. With your ceiling speakers, he's just kind of just floating, over you. So again, it doesn't depict what's really happening, right? If you kind of put his character in relation to where the sound is coming from, with the ceiling speakers, in my opinion, it's off. But with the front heights and the rear heights, it's actually spot on, right, as to what's going on the screen. So now, by adding two top, I added two middle speakers, right? I didn't add them; I just configured them because remember, if you've seen my other videos, um, the room is configured for a 0.6, right? So by now setting it up that way, the same scene, in Gravity, right, where the tether breaks, um, and Clooney's, you're following Clooney, you're actually watching Sandra Bullock, but Clooney is the character, or his voice is what's kind of is the object that's moving around you. He does go from your rear, right, right, to middle to the front, and then goes back all the way to your rear left, to the middle, and then to the right, front height. Uh, Sorry, left. So it starts on the right and then ends up on the left. Um, it is much more engaging, and it is much, deeper, or I should say much higher, and much, more depth to that particular scene. Those are the little things that I listen to, but it makes a difference, right? So and then the other plus is IMAX enhanced. Fine, there's not a lot of content, but I have a few discs, so I got to enjoy them, right? And then I have a Sony TV with the Bravia Core app, and I get the IMAX DTS. Yes, granted, it's being upmixed. It's just a 5.1 uh, track, but still, it's pretty good in my opinion. Like the up mixing with DTS is very good. Um, be that it may, right? But I do have IMAX enhanced discs, so that in and of itself, that sound actually, it does sound better with your front heights and your rear heights, as opposed to your ceiling speakers. And now by adding the top middles and then having the heights the way they are, actually I'm getting a much more 3D sound than before. The third advantage of doing this, is obviously now you can take advantage of your Aura 3D. I have three Aura 3D music discs. I can listen to those. I was kind of missing listening to them with just the ceiling speakers, because my Marantz wouldn't engage Aura 3D, because it knew I didn't have the front height and the rear height set up. So so now I can actually listen to my Aura 3D music. But the most important aspect of this is the fact that I can, that you can actually hear objects moving around, with more depth. I don't have a Dolby Atmos, viewer, right? Atmos viewer. So I turned off my Macintosh, right, which just powers the bed channels, the 7 channels, and just left my Marantz on, and then the Rasan 2, stereo amplifier that I have, that I've configured in a bridge mono to just power one channel. So so I left those two amplifiers on, turned the Mac off, and now I can just hear the sound going back and forth, or going from speaker to speaker, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's a good experience, but it's a pain to do it that way. But I have to, just to get my point across, and just to confirm what I'm hearing, when I'm watching a movie. Starts off with just music in the top, not top, I'm sorry, in the front heights and the rear heights. Top middles are not engaged.
go. Now you're getting lightheaded, right?
And then rear height.
It's because you're breathing CO2. You're losing consciousness. You need to board the station. Now, that second Soyuz is too damaged for re-entry,
And
but
then
it's
it
perfectly
passes
fine
through
for a little
top
Sunday drive.
middle to the front height right.
Look to the west. You see that dot in the distance?
And then goes
That's
over
Hungary
me
Station.
to the rear
Take
height
the
left.
Soyuz and you're gonna cruise over there. Chinese lifeboat is in Shenzhou.
And then it passes through the top middle.
It doesn't matter. Its
Now
re-entry
again
protocol
top
is
front.
identical to the
Front
Soyuz.
height, sorry. I like this particular scene from Aquaman only because of the activity in the overhead speakers. Um, as uh, our heroes are running on top of the rooftops, there is this Atlantean who's down below, who's hearing steps above, and the steps basically fill your entire overhead space. I really like it that way. So this is more of a static mix from No Time to Die. So the difference basically between this is going to be around the 49-minute mark. So the difference between having two height speakers versus four versus six is not going to make a difference because it is not a dynamic Atmos mix. Essentially, your objects are not moving, and what you hear is going to be from you could hear the same information with two channels, four channels, or six channels. So let's take a listen. Again, as I mentioned, this is yep at the 48:50 mark of the movie.
What is this? Spectum Bunga Bunga?
Yep. All you hear is
You never been to a party like this?
How do you think I got this job?
Don't get distracted now. Remember, we're looking for our Russian scientist.
I'm seeing all those vector engines.
it's essentially the same sound in your front heights, top middle, and your rear height speakers. No changes. It's all static sound.
Friend of yours?
So I am using the M1s, B&W M1 speakers for my front heights now. Mad Max Fury Road. So this has a very active and very dynamic Dolby Atmos mix. So in my opinion, like in this particular movie, all six of my height speakers are used, but they're used at varying times. So in the first scene that I'm going to play right now, it's just the front heights and the top middles that are active, but the imaging between the two of them, because there is music playing up there as well, and it actually, the channel spread is great. If you just had four speakers, you would actually get the same effect from a musicality standpoint, but from a depth standpoint, the action is in front of you, and when they're cutting his hair, you actually hear it, up front and above you, as opposed to on top of you when you have just the four ceiling speakers. Take a listen. I actually love the imaging. I like it this way. I'd love to hear your thoughts and uh, you know, your comments on this particular video. Uh, leave me some comments. I'll hopefully, if I can get to them quick enough, I'll reply. I hope you like this video. And if you like it, please, click on the like button. Don't forget to share the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel. Thank you.